destabilized is not a good thing.
Wajahid, do you agree with Ambassador Raghavan that the inclination in Pakistan will be to contain this? At the same time, questions will be asked, when an Osama bin Laden was taken out by the Americans, the outcry, initially the denialism, then the outcry, it's the same principle. It's not the same relationship, but it's the same principle. How can the Pakistan army, which effectively runs the country, explain a kind of lack of a more aggressive response?
Thank you. I dare not disagree with the ambassador on anything. But Barka, I'm going to try to break this down and bring it back home to you guys as well, to India as well. Firstly, of course, this is the world's fifth largest country with the world's fifth largest army, the only nuclear armed Islamic army in the world. That's the way they've branded themselves. Pakistan has spent a lot of time and a lot of money in building these armed forces and funding these armed forces. Today, yes, Pakistan is in internal political turmoil, and the armed forces are behind that crackdown, which is the centerpiece of that turmoil. But on the one hand, the army has to look strong at home as well. They can't afford to look weak. Keep in mind that in the last dozen or so years, not one, not two, but three of Pakistan's neighbors have been accused of violating its territorial or airspace. India, of course, has been accused. Afghanistan has been accused. Now Iran has been accused. The only people left are the Chinese, God forbid, if they're accused as well. That's no good.
I mean, some might say China controls the Pakistan's already a vassal state.
Well, I'm not going to delve into Sino-Pak politics, but the Chinese have, by the way, weighed in on the most recent thing. They've just weighed in
and asked both countries to show restraint.
Right, and they've called both of them brothers, right? So the Chinese are playing a nice even hand here, but the Pakistanis are in a pickle. If they don't do anything, they encourage the Afghans, no offense, the Indians, the Iranians, and everybody else to bully them further, which they kind of have been pushing the envelope on Pakistan's sovereignty on all sides. If they do something, they risk a third hot border. The LOC India border is hot for decades. We don't need to delve into that. The AFPAC border has been heating up. It's ground zero right now for Pakistan's increased resurgence of terrorism. And now we're going to have a third border? Really? I mean, can we afford this? But more than that, there's something we've missed here, which really brings us to India. There's a Shia-Sunni divide in this region, Barka. And ISIS-KP, and by the way, there's a Shia-Sunni divide in India as well. And ISIS-KP...
In what way? In what way is there a Shia-Sunni divide in India?
I'm coming to it. ISIS-KP, Daesh, Lashkar-e-Jhangi, etc. in Pakistan, groups in the region which have been resurgent. There are terror groups in Pakistan like Al-Qaeda, and of course in India like Al-Qaeda IS, which have made their own brands, their bread and butter is trying to exploit the Shia-Sunni divide, as well as the Muslims versus everybody else divide. They're going to go to town as well. Many of Pakistan's minorities, like the Shias, have been targeted by these groups. Expect reprisal attacks beginning from them. Of course, anything which is of sectarian nature can spill over. Increased terrorism in Pakistan can and may spill over on either side of the three borders. There's a sectarian problem in Afghanistan. There's clearly a sectarian problem in Iran. And of course, as far as extremism is concerned, there's always a potential of that expanding into India. Terrorism is a threat for India, just like it is anywhere else. If there is a resurgence of terror groups in Pakistan, especially ultra-Sunni Salafist terror groups, that has to be in India's calculus. But more than anything, India is in an interesting place in this whole war of narratives as well. There's a school of people in Pakistan which blame Iran still for housing Indian naval commander Kulbhushan Jadhav, who's still in Pakistani custody. That's the alleged spy who was picked up from Iran by Pakistani intelligence around 7 years ago now. He hasn't been sent back despite of a relative thaw in relations and despite of stability on the line of control. Relative stability on the line of control. So Pakistan blames somehow India for all of this as well, and because that's perhaps a knee-jerk reaction. So premised on that, I think that this has spillover potential, as the ambassador said. This has the ability to regionally upset and create this third theater. India patrolling the Western Indian Ocean region as far as its navy is concerned, and then being sort of like backed up by the Pakistan Navy as well. That didn't go down too well at home with the Pakistani audiences.
Okay, let me just come in.
And that will have an effect in this greater Middle East conflict as well for Pakistan. So yeah.
Okay. So you've said a whole bunch of things, and we have about 5 minutes left. Let me bring in the general first, and then the ambassador, General Shukla. Kulbhushan Jadav, I did mention him in the very beginning. From an Indian perspective, this is a death row prisoner whom Pakistan has absolutely falsely accused. He was in Chabahar. He gets picked up by the same group. This is what India believes, the Jaish-al-Adl, whose bases have been targeted today. And of course, this particular group that has been targeted, there are many blots on its name. Wajahat would know all of them too well. 2013, they make headlines when they kill 14 Iranian border guards. Then in 2019, they basically killed 27 personnel in a suicide bombing near the city of Zahedan. But from an Indian perspective, since Kulbhushan Jadav has been mentioned, India-Pakistan has been mentioned, what's happening in the Arabian Sea has been mentioned. Go ahead, General.
Barka, I somehow don't read too much into this attack on in southwest Balochistan. I'll tell you why. You look at it from the Iranian perspective. On Monday, they have hit targets in Erbil and Idlib, Syria, Kurdistan and Syria. And on Tuesday, they've done Pakistan. So Pakistan is really not the point. What we should really, what I would like to note is that look at this. Iran, a country under sanctions, how it has resurged militarily and is now trying to assert its regional position in West Asia. That is the larger point. And they are telling the Americans that we will not only take you on with our instruments, but if necessary, we will do what we have to. And here, what we should just see how all these people have, built up this drone missile complex to challenge American power. That is the larger point. Also, please keep a note on, say, countries like Turkey. They use drones to become a superpower, and now they are rewriting the politics of Eurasia. That is the larger point I would emphasize. Look at North Korea. Now we think nothing of North Korea. Russia's resurgence in Ukraine, or its coming back into reckoning, is largely because of the supply of artillery ammunition from North Korea. North Korea supplied more artillery ammunition to Russia than the entire West could to Ukraine. And somebody made this point. Roosevelt many years ago said, if you have to protect democracies, you must have a very strong arsenal. He was referring to the military-industrial complex. Of late, the arsenal of non-democracies is proving to be more powerful than the arsenal of democracies. So it is this conversion of economic surpluses into hard power, I'll keep re-emphasizing. That is the important differentiator. And I'd like to point out to one, irony here in Red Sea, or in this whole business of keeping the sea routes going through the Red Sea and Persian Gulf. See, China is the largest exporter and therefore key beneficiary of the Red Sea route. So is Europe for its energy supplies. But who's policing the Red Sea and who's paying the military costs? USA and UK. So China is the free rider. I just find it absolutely ingenuous. So this military burden sharing and economic benefits also need some kind of course correction here. So these are the larger issues. And if I may just make one point in the Indian context, which we should worry, I'll just take 30 seconds. It seems to me that the arc of conflict is bending towards the Indo-Pacific and closer home. And I wouldn't like to exaggerate. Walter Reed says that this is the war generation. I'm emphasizing. So the point is that, come 2026, 2027, if we get to conflict, we should not regret then that we wasted valuable time in preparing for it. I'm not saying a conflict is coming, But watching events all around the world, it does seem to me that we must invest more in our military instruments and these very sophisticated capacities, because that seems to be the trend of the times.
I'm going to give the last word to Ambassador Raghavan. And I think what I'm picking up is, one, Wajahat speaks of the spillover impact on India, but the general says the real story of what's happened this past week is in Pakistan or Iraq or Syria or even the Houthis. It is actually a challenge to Western hegemony, where the lines between non-state actors and state actors have been completely blurred, because you're looking at groups that have backing of states that are able to basically create havoc, taking an Israel-Palestine, Israel-Gaza conflict and now expanding its footprint so far wide that it is right in our backyard. Last word to you.
Houthis are...
Sorry, General Shukla, you're saying what? Sorry?
I'm saying the Houthis today are hardly non-state. They are
I understand, which is why when we say Houthi rebels, we have to watch what we say, because that's exactly what I'm saying, though. That earlier classification of what's a non-state actor today is under challenge. I do have to close. Ambassador, last word to you.
Well, I will say that, yes, we have to be mindful about what's happening in our region. And certainly the wider destabilization is a factor we always have to keep in account. But I don't think we should exaggerate the tactical basis for these Iran-Pakistan differences and the instinct of both countries after these differences surface to contain
dial it down.
You see, there is a Western narrative and a West Asian narrative about Iranian behavior, but we tend to overlook that Iran, when it is looking west, when Iran looks west, it may be a deeply revisionist power, but when it looks east, towards Pakistan, towards India, it is by and large, it has behaved as a status quoist power. So I don't think we should, jump to the conclusion that whatever is happening is going to spill over to us and we have to go into the trenches. I think, yes, we have to monitor developments. But as I said, there is a tactical basis to Iran-Pakistan differences, which has been there for at least 30 years now. And we shouldn't overlook that.
I think that's a very important distinction, how Iran is viewed by the West and how it's viewed by this part of the world. Wajahat, I was going to close. You have a 30-seconder. Go ahead. Yeah, Wajahat?
I just wanted to update everyone that there is, I agree that this seems more tactical right now as well. The Iranians are beginning to walk it back as well. They've just issued a statement saying we hit the bad guys, not anyone from our brotherly country, Pakistan. So no nationals from Pakistan were hit. That's awfully nice of them, one must say. The Iranians usually don't walk anything back. That in itself is a bit of a sign. But I must say that from an Indian perspective, there are people in South Bloc probably figuring out how the Pakistanis might be reaching out to their no longer best friends in Washington and saying, hey, listen, can we work on this together? There's a lot of Pakistanis are hitting the phones for Riyadh.
That's an interesting thought.
So at this point, I would say that this is an interesting opportunity for the Pakistanis to reestablish contact with Riyadh, with Abu Dhabi, with Dubai, with the Americans, and that, of course, should keep the Indians busy, I would say.
I just want a quick response to that, Ambassador Raghavan. It's a very interesting thought, right? For the American perspective on Iran, Pakistan is could offer itself, much as it did when it came to the Afghanistan question.
I think it's possible. My own sense is that American distrust of Pakistan is very deep. And they have such a jaundiced view of their interface with Pakistan that there won't be too many buyers for this logic, although it may well be attempted. I don't rule it out.